At 6:30, I'm going to start the webinar.
Thank you.
26. Yeah. What's that?
I think I'm Karen on. And the entire. Well, no, I want to be right now. Right. I got you.
I am one.
Yeah, oh, we got you. That's right.
I just don't need this.
Oh, no.
I think she's.
The chair.
Still waiting for a core, so we haven't started the meeting yet.
But I'm guessing like. Yes. Yeah. If you left.
Right.
How many people make?
25. In the room. In the room.
Everyone, thank you for your patience. We're still waiting for a quorum, so can't officially begin until we make quorum.
Anything that's required of vote.
Yeah. I know.
Oh, I work. So I found the code that goes here. Oh, the code.
Yeah.
One more of us. One more.
Robert. You.
We gotta create a forum, allegedly. So we are going to get started. Welcome everyone to the October, Community Board 7 monthly meeting. We will start with the pledge of allegiance.
And to the republic, which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And now for our roll call.
Everybody. When I call your name, please acknowledge it and I will acknowledge you. If you are on Zoom, please remember to unmute yourself. And if you don't hear me acknowledge you, then I did not hear you. So let's start with Ramona Acevedo. Amel Absal. Cristel Amador. Thank you. Damian Andrade. Thank you. Doris Hostel. Joan Body. Thank you. Gladys Bruno. Thank you. Laurinette Condras. Jerry Chen. Thank you. Esteban Chavez.
Here.
Thank you. Richard Codor.
Here.
Thank you. Richard, you don't count towards the quorum, though. Christina Das. John DeLuca.
Present.
Thank you. Beatrice DeSapio.
Present.
Thank you. B, you don't count towards the quorum. Dino Morales Escamilla. Cynthia Felix. Thank you. John Pontelis.
Here.
Thank you. Kim Fung. Cynthia Gonzalez. Thank you. Diana Gonzalez. Hector Gonzalez. Thank you. Kenny Kwan. Nicole Kwan. Thank you. Nicholas Jackson.
Here.
Thank you. John Johnston. Thank you. Jeremy Kaplan. Thank you. Beverly Kleiman. Thank you. Wyco. Barbara Lee. Thank you. Christina Lim. Thank you. Andrew Lau. Paul Mack.
Here.
Thank you. Paul, you do not count towards the quorum. Antoinette Martinez. Marilyn Melman. Thank you. Rosie Mota. Thank you. Jamie Nelson.
Here.
Thank you. Julio Pena III.
Present.
Thank you. Karen Romick.
Present.
Thank you. Joanna Romero. Patricia Ruiz.
Here.
Thank you. Damaris Santiago. Thank you. Sam Sierra.
Present.
Thank you. Ryan Smith. Selena Storma. Thank you. Victor Clinton. Thank you. Cindy Vandenbosch. Catherine Walsh.
Present.
Thank you. Katie, you do not count for quorum, no? Cesar Zuniga.
Thank you. Yep. We will move to the first item on the agenda, which is the adoption of the agenda. Motion that?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Seconded by, Jerry. If there are no objections to adopting the agenda unanimously? Objection?
Pardon me, Chair, Chairperson, report of the agenda possible.
How about, um, so I'm going to move the chair's report to, after, before the first public comment period. You're welcome. Any objection to adopting the agenda as amended? Motion adopted, or agenda adopted. Motion to adopt the minutes of September 20th, 2023 board meeting. Motioned by, Damian, seconded by Sam. Any objection?
Correction. My name was listed, for the Public Safety Committee instead of Cynthia Felix, so I would like that corrected.
The correction is to, change the name for public safety from Cynthia Gonzalez to Cynthia Felix. Any objection to adopting the minutes as amended? Seeing or hearing none, the agenda, the minutes of the September 20th board meeting is adopted. Okay. There were no minutes for the October 11, 2023 public hearing as a quorum was not established. So we will be skipping that item on the agenda. And now moving to the chair's report. First item is, I wanted to, thank a board member who has recently resigned, Leonette Lopez. Unfortunately, moved out of the district and, has resigned. So we thank her for her service to this board and wish her well. I wanted to follow up on the email, to board members, last week, with the update on committees. I first want to apologize that it has taken this long. It has been a pretty stressful start to the school year in terms of like my day job. So it has taken me quite some time to finalize the committee list and committee chairs. In the email, I announced that there were some committees that were combining. There was no committee that was dissolved. Some of them have been combined. Education has been combined with Health and Human Services to form Education, Health and Human Services. Parks and Sanitation and Environment has been combined to Parks and Environment. And Economic Development and Waterfront has been renamed to Economic Development and Small Businesses. And with that, there have been some folks who have stepped up and we're very excited. The new chair for the Economic Development and Small Business Committee is Damaris. And over there. The new chair of the Land Use Committee is Diana Gonzalez. And John has graciously offered to step in as vice chair. The new vice chair for finance and bylaws is Nick Jackson. And the new vice chair for education, health and human services is Rosie Mota. I'm very thankful for the folks who have stepped up and looking forward to the committees. And lastly, on the chair's report is wanted to announce that there's been an executive committee meeting scheduled for September, for November 13th. And the agenda will be to discuss committee meetings and quorum, which has been a challenge for some committees this month. So stay tuned for the announcement for the executive committee meeting notice. And that is that for the chair's report. Any questions? Cynthia? And then Pat.
Please use the microphone.
Yeah.
Thank you. What I wanted to say is that as the chair of the Health and Human Resources Committee, I was informed that a member of my committee was taking off the committee without my notification. And I just feel that as the chair of that committee, if anybody in my committee is going to be removed, I should have been informed. I should have been given the courtesy of knowing what was happening with my committee. Now, I know that the committees are combined, education committee now. So my question is, we have two different committees that are being combined. How is the governance of those committees going to take place going forward? Still the chair of the health, right?
So thank you for the feedback. The Education, Health and Human Service Committee is on one committee, with you as the chair.
Okay, but so it's not combined with education.
Yes, it is.
And that other committee has a chair?
No.
No, so that makes me the chair of two committees?
It's one committee.
It's one committee.
First.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. In the future, I would really appreciate it if there are gonna be changes that, we are informed of that, find out about it,
Thank you.
Now, I'm going to add to that. I unfortunately was not told
that I was being removed as vice chair of the Health and Mental Health Committee until I inquired and you sent me the document. And so what it looks like to me is that you went ahead, asked someone to be vice chair of this education committee without telling me that you were removing. I thought that was disrespectful. And communication, I said it before, say it again, communication has to be better. I know that it is within your right by the bylaws to change committees, please, but you should really reach out to folks first and tell them why you're removing them before you go ahead and ask someone else stuff. Thank you.
Thank you for the feedback, Pat. As I stated, that was an oversight. I had thought that we had communicated, and I will endeavor to do better. Any other questions on the chair's report? Cynthia, Felix?
Yes, I just have a question.
No, it's the mute button. The select button will change the channel and then we don't know. There you go.
I just have. Are you right? Outside. Yeah. I just have a question as to when will people know who is on what committee? Because we haven't been informed as to what committees we're serving on. So that was my question.
Thank you. So that is I'll repeat the question. The question was, when will committee members know their committee assignment if their committee was affected? That will be happening very soon. I don't believe anyone will be removed from committees based on the change, but we do want to update folks on what it's going to be, what the update is.
Thank you.
So let me ask you a question. On that note, are the current committee members of each of the standing committees still on those committees, or you have shifted?
You mean the previous committees?
Right, like right now, as far as I know, I am on the executive committee, I am on the health and HR committee. Am I now no longer a member of that committee, or you're just adding people?
So committees that have changed or have been combined, the committee members will also be combined. So for example, if you were on the education committee and the health and human service committee, you will stay on the education and health and human services.
No longer vice chair.
Karen?
I was wondering if we could hear a little bit more about the rationale for combining different committees. Was this like a conversation that took place with the chairs to say that maybe there was not enough interest? Because one of the things that I think is important, and I'm curious, second question is that for the waterfront development, there's still a lot going on in waterfront development. Is the new committee, is that still going to be a major focus of it? Especially because also small businesses is a big element too. So it seems like that would distract from, focusing on the waterfront development. But I'm curious to hear the thought process for, the ones that were combined. What was the sort of input or the rationale for combining?
So one of the things that we have struggled with in the past couple of months is attendance at committees and quorum, which we'll talk about at the next executive committee meeting. And the idea that there were a lot of committees, some met more frequently than others, and the idea was to lessen the burden so that there weren't as many committees that we had of this board. To answer your second part, waterfront issues are still the purview of the economic development and small business. But it was just an effort to emphasize small business as well. Any other questions? Okay. So moving on to the first public comment of the night. This public comment is for items that are on the agenda. I also want to note, specifically the first public comment is for, either the board or members of the public to, weigh in on, the FY 2025 capital and expense budget priorities, so any budget or capital expense priorities that are important to the public. So is there any public comment?
If you are on Zoom and you wish to make a public comment about any item on the agenda, please use the raise hand function. None.
This one turned off.
No, I turned it off because it went blank.
Any public comment? Okay, and apologies, we are having tech issues with one of our monitors. So moving on to, committee reports. The, housing committee, we met, this was from table from last September, and Antoinette unfortunately couldn't make it this evening, so we will, table. Transportation committee. Wait, did I just say parks? Sorry, that's on the sheet. Parks committee. Victor, there you go.
Parks Committee had a meeting September 27th here at the community board. We had guest speakers from the Parks Department, which we have two here today, Jim Morris and Jacob Blazer. So we have questions after I do my presentation, then I answer all the questions. We have one thing on the agenda, that was a presentation from Park Recreation on the redesign of the Peña Herrera Playground, which is located on Third Avenue between 46th Street and 47th Street. The goal of this new design or this presentation on the redesign to provide clear and distinction between public and children's zones, integrate planting areas within the proposed space, provide stronger pedestrian connections between upper and lower levels, resolve the trench between the bathroom, the restroom building, and improve access to circulation and sight lines in the park. This is a $5 million project, which was sponsored or going to be paid by the mayor. It's a 3-year project. The first year is the design stage, which we're in right now. Started back in February, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
The next step will be if they get all the tools that they need. The next step will be the competitive bidding for construction, which will last a year also, and then construction is the last step. That will last a year also. There's going to be some tree removals, some stump removals, some new trees implanted. Some due to poor conditions, some due to the design consideration. The fencing that is damaged will be replaced and fixed. There will be some new fencing. Also, that platform at the spray play area will have some cedar replacement of plastic lumbers that would be recycled.
It's recycled plastic.
Lumber on board on cast in place concrete base, pergola planting fence. When it comes, they're gonna have a pickle area, it's where the handball courts are. The handball courts are gonna be removed. Parts of Underfield is, parts in the area that have handball court. So the handball court's gonna be removed. Put in that spot is going to be color steel coat, pickleball court without the net. But it will be flexible for alternative use. Mainly from the school, they're gonna use it for performances, recess for the kids, in that area. If you do want to use the pickleball court, you're gonna have to bring your own equipment. Right? There'll be some trees and some plantings. The amphitheaters, there will be amphitheater seating on either side of this pickleball area for school performances, for seating. When it comes to the amphitheater seating, one thing I did express to Parks is that this community board is really ADA conscious. And one thing they have when it comes to the seating with the amphitheater is that they have the companion space on each side on the bottom row for ADA companions for wheelchairs and stuff like that. Basketball courts and the surface of the park, basketball courts going to be redone. The surface is going to be redone and level. The ramp is going to be reconstructed. They're going to have more space between the bathroom and the ramps. The playground equipment, we're going to have an area for 2 to 5 years old and 5 to 12. Again, as I stated before, we are ADA compliance. So we did have some questions on the equipment that's going to be in the playground. There will be a swing in the 5 and 12 playground that's going to be ADA compliance. In the 2 to 5, it's going to be a little issue. Got to be some other type of design made there because to put an ADA swing there for that age, we have to move. There's 4 bucket swings. And to put a swing in there for it to be ADA compliance, we got to remove 2 of them and another piece of equipment. So we can be able to fit a ADA compliance swing in that area. So that was the question we had for them. The issue we had, as was spoken to this evening by the chair, is we didn't have quorum at the meeting. So even though those that were there they recommend that we bring it to the full board. But for us to vote on it, my understanding, we have to get a motion from a board member, second by a board member, and then we vote for a letter of support for this project. I'll leave, if you have any questions, like I said, we have Foster Department here. I think they might have something that they wanted to show, but they're definitely here. Yes, sir.
So I missed the meeting, but I've seen the presentation and just as a note, I used to live on 46th Street for like a decade and I brought my kids over to Peña Herrera Park. This redesign, the design is fantastic. It looks really cool. I'm excited for it. It looks very creative, fun, and that park needs a lot of love. And so the redesign looks very cool for kids. I showed my kids, they're excited. One thing that I would say that I think is really important about this is that I noticed that there's a lot of trees being cut down. And the biggest thing about Peña Herrera is that the environment there, because of the BQE, because of the noise pollution, and just it's a tough park unless you have a lot of trees. So I feel like it's imperative to keep all the trees you can, and replacing, putting new trees in won't have the same impact for a decade. So I think with the redesign, you need to make sure. I know that there's some trees there that are in bad condition, but we need to keep as many as possible because that's a huge thing, a huge detriment to parents when you go down there. If there's less trees, there's less shade, there's more noise, more BQE pollution. So it's really important to keep as many trees as possible and bring in more trees. So I think in the design process, you need to consider that is a huge element of making it as welcoming as possible. And then one other thing is that I'm curious, I know that the city's been doing away with but the animal statues, which is like classic of New York City parks, beloved by a lot of kids. I imagine that this is going away, but I think there's a good way to incorporate these into the park still, and I'm curious why sort of the Parks Department is wanting to remove all of them. Because literally each park is known by their animals. So you go to Froggy Park, Elephant Park, and so these are still sort of iconic. And I'm curious if there's any way of like still incorporating them because it's such a big part of the sort of parks design, and kids know that. So
Yeah.
So please use the microphone.
So, thank you. I'll just speak about the trees, but we'll talk about the elephant. For the trees, I think there's a condition removal, which we can't control. And there's one design removal, and it's, 40 years ago or 50 years ago when the park was originally designed, done with these weird levels. And I think it was to really raise up where the public restroom location is, so the ramp is, I think. But one of the things in this design you can see is that we're trying to really mitigate that so it's accessible and smooth between the entirety of the control. So there's one tree that really it gets in the way of doing that. It's at the top of the ramp. It really couldn't redo the corrective design work to flatten it out with that one tree. That said, we care a lot about shade, and I think you'll find that the canopy itself, like all of the trees in the shade, is going to be maintained. Yes, the trees that we're putting in are going to take more time, but that's also part of succession. They're going to, these elder trees are going to, go eventually. So it is good to put these younger trees, and eventually they'll provide that ceiling that we do want. And Jim will speak to the.
I've seen many of the animals, so I'm very excited to talk about it. Finally, I get somebody asked me about it. No, a lot of these. Thank you for that question, because I've seen a lot of the various animals, frogs, dolphins. I think in one, it depends on what the community wants. That's kind of why we're here. We want to make a park that people love. If there's a park up in Ward 2 where we are saving them and going to probably reincorporate it back into the design. There was a plan over the past 10 years to save them and make kind of upset animals. We can get more information about the status of that, but it just depends. Some are in a state that there's one that I saw that was a sea lion that had no face. It was interesting to look at, and that one I think was taken away just because it was kind of horrifying, frankly, in a certain sense. But these animals are beloved because, as you said, a lot of these parks, people don't remember specific names. Some parks are named after cross streets. It's a lot more iconic to know it as Frog's Park, stuff like that. So that's something that people want to incorporate. That's not possible. So it's really just the feedback that we get about specific things like that. Cement structures are tough sometimes to incorporate because they are a little bit dangerous sometimes, but that outweighs the fact that they're so beloved kind of outweighs it, because they are a big piece of concrete in the playground. But that being said, just depends on what people want, and if we can reincorporate them to the fact of this kind of feedback, it's like they're a part of the park, they're a part of the being heart of the park. They can be reincorporated. We love it. People be using it.
Thank you. Jeremy, would you like to perhaps introduce a motion to? Okay, I want to take a motion and then we'll go to the discussion. Jeremy, would you be interested in introducing a motion to send a letter of support? With your suggestion of keeping the animals.
yeah, I propose a motion that we endorse the proposal with the idea of also figuring out a way to keep the beloved elephant there.
Is there a second? And that's seconded by Barbara. And I will continue with discussion. Thank you. Pat?
I have two questions. One related to the handicap accessible area. Thank you for the wheelchair. I was the one in the meeting that couldn't hear, so I apologize. My question is, other than the wheelchair accessible swing, are there going to be any sensory areas for kids who are visually impaired, etc.?
So in terms of, thank you, that's a good question. So in terms of visual impairment, yeah, sorry, I didn't realize it was for visual impairment, the one place we could, add that in, would be a corrective thing, are the at-grade display cameras that we have in front of us. So I'm just trying to go through my head, if we have it there, I don't think we do, but that's something we could incorporate.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that.
Great suggestion.
My second question, the amphitheater, what is the capacity? I mean, what kind of show? Like, I'm thinking of the community, doing the performance there, and is that New York City parks that would control?
So is really what is really the width of that court. They're flanking both sides. So I don't know how many adults would fit there versus how many children, but I imagine a whole class of kids could
Community theater.
sit on one side. You could use for outdoor classroom, you could use for dance performance. And I would imagine the parents would be standing around, whoever wants to sit would sit, whoever would stand. It wasn't really thought to it for specific.
And is that again run by New York City parks if someone wanted to use it?
Well, no, it's a park. No, it's just the amphitheater, what we're describing as amphitheater seating is just two seat walls, two levels. And it's just on one side of on either side, calling the pickleball court. When it's not being used by people who are playing pickleball, it's being used by the school or it's being performance or something.
Thank you.
And just to note, correction, this project is funded by Councilmember Alex Aviles and Speaker Adrian Adams, not the mayor's office. Damien, did you have a question?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I have a question. I don't know if I could amendment to
A friendly amendment?
I guess. However it is, I guess what I want to do is to make sure with the redesign and etc. to allow the handle cards to stay due to the fact that I get that quote unquote, I don't know how we have enough in the neighborhood. Just even reducing this handle court would actually make more of a congestion to the other handle courts such as Sunset Park. I believe there might be one in 8th Avenue as well, and then near high school telecommunication technology. I'm just saying that we should the fact that people still use this part and people still play and use handball courts, the handball. It will be kind of like disrespectful for a lot of members and a lot of residents who kind of use this part, just even get away with whatever they do. And plus a lot of activity is mental health. So to play part of this gift, like, I don't know, it's just in a way that we should have to keep it because people still use it. It's not like something that doesn't get used, it gets used.
Okay, so the amendment to the motion is to not remove the handball courts and to keep them. Because this was a motion that came from the floor, in terms of the main motion, is there a second to the amendment? Seconded by Barbara. We do need to vote on the amendment. I'm gonna try to do this by, raise hand vote. So if you, agree with changing or Virginia's amendment to not remove the handball courts, I'm gonna ask you to raise your hand, board members only.
Can I ask a point of information for Arts folks? Sure.
Yes.
Did you have any research about the usage of the handball courts, especially relative to the others? Because going back to what Damien mentioned, I think that one is more used than, for instance, the one you mentioned, like telecommunications, John L. Payne. But I also want to know the overall usage and the trends that you've seen for sports, games, and something like that. Yeah.
So in terms of that, we didn't really use the study because the idea of removing that handball wall really came from community input that we heard at the community meeting that people wanted pickleball. And we got the sense that it was not a priority. If this board votes that it is a priority, we keep the handball, but that's fine with us. I mean, we're providing designers to serve the community, people who live there. So we didn't do a study of how many people are playing handball here versus there, et cetera. It really was just a response to things we heard. So we wanted to keep handball, that's fine.
Thank you. So the amendment to the motion is to keep the handball courts for Penny Herrera Park. If you,
So with this new design, which none of us, I haven't seen, but, a wall is a large object in the middle of the park. Is that what it impacts the design?
Yeah,
Anyway?
absolutely. Yeah, I can answer both those things, and I'll defer to Victor and Jeremy on this. I have the presentation. I don't know how easily.
thank you.
So sorry. So I have the presentation on the flash drive. I won't, I'm not going to say if we should use it or not. I'm curious if you guys want to see the presentation. We call it schematic design. To answer your question, which is a great question, there's a sightline issue with the handball court, the way that it's designed, that the school had expressed disinterest in because of the way that the handball court is. So we're on Third Avenue, we're looking east. The handball wall runs parallel to Third Avenue. So there's a sightline issue with the school that they expressed distaste with. That we, as Jeremy was saying during our scope meeting of February 15th, about whatever that's 8 months ago, there was a sense that this playground didn't, and I'm not saying, we want to design a park that is being used by the community for that sport. Demi playground a little bit further north next to Sunset Park High School. They use the handball court a lot. We're not going to take that one. We're not going to change that one, anything like that. But we're just in response to the community users. This one is used heavily by PS001, this one. They use it every day. The way that this park is laid out is that PS1 uses it a lot. They use it like for dismissal. You sound like you have a kid that may have gone there or anything like that, but they use it for egress, they use it for dismissal. They use this thing we call the multi-purpose play area. It might help to have this as a visual aid. I defer to the community board if you guys want to do that. I have it here, but that is one of the responses we had about the handball court because of the way that it's oriented. There's some sidelines issues that they seem were a little unsafe for visual reasons. Having a lot of handball walls because of the way that it's just laid out. Pickleball was a response we got in the initial thing to incorporate because it removes that sideline issue and it is the school's safety issues. The school wanted more of a interaction with that. Right next to that handball wall is their they have kind of weird build. It's not weird, but it's a building that is kind of on quasi parks that they use a lot, and they have a little play area there that they wanted a little bit more visuals on. So that was the response. But again, we want to make this park usable by the community and people that use it. So if you guys have the feedback that handball is one that's easily adjustable, but that was the reason. The initial part is that the school uses it so much, and they that was our feedback in the first place when we did the initial research. We went out there and saw what people use in a lot of schools. So that's that question, and there's other parks around that are in redesign that have handball involved with them. So it's a much better answer. No, it's an answer. I'm not sure it was good. But yeah, so I'll leave it.
Yeah, I do want to take care of the amendment motion on the floor, but I have a question from Katie.
Yeah, it's just short. It's just in the design proposal was sent out to everybody. But so with the trees, the proposal has that there's 3 that are going to be removed. One is because of design, and then 2 are because of poor conditions. But then we're only getting 2 replacements. So with all of the considerations that you're making, the point made, this is on Third Avenue. Their quality is awful because of the BQE in Third Avenue. And so we don't need less total numbers. We need the same, if not more. So I'd like to also make a recommendation that we at least, if the total number is 3, they're being removed, that we get 3 back, or if not more than that. That's the request. I don't know if that's an amendment, Julio, but I'll just kind of put that out there.
I do want to take care of amendment on the floor before we address another secondary amendment. And we'll circle back to that. For those who are the amendment to include not removing the handball courts. If you are in favor of that amendment, board members, please raise your hands. Thank Thank you. If you are not in favor of the amendment, please raise your hand. Yeah, we'll have to do roll call. So we're gonna do a roll call vote.
Respectfully, I think the school should have a say since they're the ones that have a safety issue for it and they're not here. So if we could table that part of the amendment because they're the ones that have most use of that park. And it was clearly stated by the school that they have a concern about that and they should be able to express that and they're unable to do that today. So that's mostly why I'm voting no. They're not here to tell us their side as to why they felt it was a concern for them. Respectfully submitted.
Thank you, Cynthia. So, just give me one second. So we cannot table an amendment to a main motion. It will have to be voted down. Victor?
Just on that issue, in February, I actually was on that Zoom meeting. And the principal was on it, as well as some other teachers. And they were adamant about getting rid of that handbook for safety concerns. I can tell you that, from being on that Zoom meeting when they had the meeting.
Thank you. So we're gonna go to a roll call vote for the amendment. A yes vote is, yes, I want to remove the handbook, courts. Sorry, yes, I want to keep the handball courts. No is to, proceed with the motion, as presented.
We call roll. When I call your name, please vote. And I will acknowledge your vote. If you are online, please remember to unmute yourself. Let's start with Ramon Acevedo. Mel Afzal. Rizal Amador. Rizal Amador, yes. Damian Andrade. Damian Andrade, yes. Doris, I'm sorry, John Bobby. John Bobby, yes. Gladys Bruno. Gladys Bruno, yes. Lauren Contreras. Jerry Chen. No. Jerry Chen, no. Esteban Chavez.
No.
Esteban Chavez, no. Richard Codor.
Yes.
Richard Codor, yes. Christina Das. John DeLuca. No. John DeLuca, no. Beatrice DeStapio.
Yes.
Beatrice DeStapio, yes. Rufino Morales Escamilla. Cynthia Felix.
No.
Cynthia Felix, no. John Pontillis.
Yes.
John Pontillis, yes. Kin Fung. Cynthia Gonzalez. Cynthia Gonzalez, yes. Diana Gonzalez. Hector Gonzalez. Hector Gonzalez, yes. Kenny Huang. Nicole Huang. Nicole Huang, no. Nicholas Jackson. No. Nicholas Jackson, no. John Johnston.
No.
John Johnston, no. Jeremy Kaplan. Jeremy Kaplan, yes. Beverly Kleinman. Beverly Kleinman, yes. Lyco. Lyco, no. Barbara Lee. Barbara Lee, yes. Christina Lem. Christina Lem, no. Angie Lau. Paul Mack.
Yes.
Paul Mack, yes. Antoinette Martinez. Marilyn Melman. Marilyn Melman, yes. Rosie Mota.
No.
Rosie Mota, no. Jamie Nelson.
No.
Jamie Nelson, no. Julio Pena. No. Julio Pena, no. Karen Rowland.
No.
Karen Rowland, no. Joanna Romero. Patricia Ruiz.
Safety, no.
Patricia Ruiz, no. Tamara Santiago.
I'm gonna go with yes for now.
Tamara Santiago, yes. Sam Sierra.
No.
Sam Sierra, no. Ryan Smith. Kalina Storma. Kalina Storma, no. Victor Swinton.
No.
Victor Swinton, no. Cindy Vandenbosch. Catherine Walsh.
Yes.
Catherine Walsh, yes. Cesar Zuniga. Warren Burner.
Vote like that in a while.
in favor, excuse me, 16 in favor, 17 opposed. The amendment does not pass.
Thank you. John?
Can I just ask, the committee did not have quorum to review this?
Correct.
Could I make a motion to recommit this back to committee? To them, so that provide a recommendation back.
So your motion is to, not table, recommit back to the committee for a vote before bringing to this board.
Yes.
Is there a second to that motion? The motion seconded by Sam. Is there a timeline that you need a letter from?
I can expand on that a little bit. I just want to clarify two things. Absolutely. No, we understand. So this process that we're going through right now, first, Parks Committee, full board, for the Public Design Commission, needs to review an approval letter. This is all part of that 3-year phase that Victor was talking about. You know, this is all subject to a pretty tight timeline. We have to hit these milestones throughout this process that are very tight. It's a 3-year process. Design very tight, procurement, we have to find a bidder and construction. So this is gonna probably, you know, we want to make sure that this is thorough and the school and all these other things has been involved with this process. We do have to submit to the Public Design Commission, which is a milestone for this design process. Therefore, at this point, it probably would delay the entire project if people would push it back a little bit. We understand there's, you know, because there wasn't a quorum or anything like that, it kind of makes it a little bit murky, but I wouldn't be able to see it. I just want to be upfront about that it is subject to delays because we would then have to effectively not change the design too much. We understand that, because right now, because there is the board in past, the design would effectively not change up until when we go back to the Parks Committee next month and then go through this to the later half of the month. So I just want to be clear about that, is that we would, because there would be really no change because that motion didn't pass, we would be waiting a month and then that would delay the process. I want to be clear.
But as in terms of the design hasn't.
Hadn't the what?
Has not been, which is more a lot of input here.
Sure.
Board asking for certain items that could be accommodated in the design.
Right.
And the PDC does meet monthly. So you don't have to come back to the board, but parts, yes, and that recommendation will then take it to the full board. But I believe that could happen within a month, then we're only going a month.
I'm just saying how this process goes. It's very tight timeline for our processes to submit this, and it would probably delay the process. We just don't want that to happen. It's not necessary, but I just want to be clear up front. We're not saying that it's not possible or anything like that. I just want to be clear about that process. That because we work in the system, I want to be clear that delays are possible through that process.
I do want to handle the motion to recommit back to committee. This requires a vote. And I'm going to try to see if we can do this by a raised hand. If you vote, if you are in favor of recommitting back to committee for recommendation, you will be raising your hand, and then we'll go to folks who do not want to recommit back to committee. So if you are in favor of the motion to recommit back to committee, please raise your hand. Thank you. If you are not in favor of sending back to committee and voting on it this evening, please raise your hand. Those have it. The motion is to send a letter of support to the Parks Department with the suggestion to keep the elephants. And it was introduced and seconded. I'm gonna ask that we do this by roll call vote. Yeah, Jeremy will call the names. Yes vote is to send a letter of support with the recommendation, and a no vote is to not send a letter of support. Did you have a question, Robin?
Vote on this, especially after this they're talking about with the school feels about it, and I'd like to, hear the specific reasons why they consider this a safety issue for the handball. But, of course.
So that was the feedback that was received from, during the meeting from the school. So during the dismissal, arrival and dismissal, that the school uses the park, and it causes, them a safety issue and concerns. The specific safety issues, I don't know, but perhaps, yeah.
Quick answer, very,
Please, quickly, thank you.
very quick. So say for instance, you're in the basketball court area that they use for dismissal. Say there's a kid behind the handball wall, can't see. So that's their main concern, is that there's a huge 18-foot cement wall that people use for handball. It's correct. You're not saying that, but in terms of the way they use it, as opposed to say like Demick Playground a little bit further north, I see people playing handball there all the time. That one is not is parallel to not as a busy a street. So like it's a little bit different design that happened decades ago, but that was the concern, that if there's a kid behind there, the way that the teachers and the aides are formulated to dismiss, they can't see kids hiding behind houses. That happens a lot.
Documented?
I mean, all we can say is what's fed back from principal. I think it's principal Ramirez, principal at PS1. We have feedback. I've been involved in this process, and all we can say is who comes to the initial input meeting. We have any sites. I'm sure it's safe for the main stakeholders. They are.
So I do want to get to this vote. We do have several other items on the agenda that do need to be voted. And I do not want to lose quorum. So we're going to call the roll. I guess it's sending a letter of support with the recommendation of keeping the elephants, and a no vote is to not send a letter of support. Chairman?
On the call roll, folks online, please mute yourself. Let's start with Ramon Acevedo, Mel Alzon, Giselle Amador, yes. Damian Andrade, yes. Joan Bobby, Joan Bobby, yes. Gladys Bruno, yes. Florida Contras, Jerry Chan, yes. Esteban Chavez, Esteban Chavez, yes. Richard Kodor,
Yes.
Richard Kodor, yes. Christina Dobb, John DeLuca,
Yes.
John DeLuca, yes. Beatrice Concepcio,
Yes.
Beatrice Concepcio, yes. Pino Morales Escamilla, Cynthia Felix,
Yeah.
Cynthia Felix, yes. John Pontillas, Pontillas, yes. Kim, Cynthia Gonzalez, yes. Diana Gonzalez, Hector Gonzalez,
Yes.
Hector Gonzalez, yes. Kenny Guan, Nicole Guan, yes. Nicholas Jackson, yes. John Johnston,
Yeah.
John Johnston, yes. Jeremy Kaplan,
Yes.
Jeremy Kaplan, yes. Beverly Clyman, yes. Lyco, yes. Barbara Lee, yes. Christina Lem, yes. Angie Lau, Paul Mack,
Yes.
yes. Antoinette Martinez, Marilyn Melman, yes. Rosie Moda,
Yeah.
Rosie Moda, yes. Jamie Nelson,
Yeah.
Jamie Nelson, yes. William Pena the third,
Yes.
the third, yes. Aaron Rolnick, yes. Joanna Romero, Patricia Ruiz,
Yes.
yes. Mara Santiago, yes. Sam Sierra, yes. Ryan Smith, Lena Sorma, yes. Victor Swinton, yes. Cindy Vanderbosch, Catherine Walsh,
Yes.
yes. Cesar Zuniga. Vote is 33 in favor, 0 opposed. Can you tell me what's the end? I'm sorry, Cesar.
Thank you, Victor, and the Parks Committee, and thank you for a lively discussion. Moving on to the Transportation Committee, John will be giving the presentation. We have multiple dots, yeah.
All right, since the vote is required, I'm gonna do that part first, but then there are a few other updates in this thing. First, on our October 3rd meeting, we received a street co-naming request, co-naming the northwest corner of 36th Street and 5th Avenue as Dr. Antonia Pantoja Way, in honor of Dr. Antonia Pantoja, was a noted educator and leader in the Puerto Rican community, and whose many contributions include the foundation of Puerto Rico College. We had a presentation from Pat Ruiz, and letters from the Puerto Rico Festival Committee, the Alliance for Puerto Rican Education and Empowerment, and Dr. William Perry, who was our partner, attesting to her contributions in New York City and beyond. So the board previously voted in support of renaming PS 958, which is at this intersection. And that renaming happened just last month. But before we vote, I also want to see if Pat has anything else to add.
Said everything I would have said, and thank you. Please. Thank you.
And the committee did vote to do this, so we don't need a second.
Thank you, John. Is there any discussion on the street renaming the street co-naming of 36th Street and 5th Avenue to Dr. Antonia Pantoja?
So it's actually going to be Doctora Way.
Thank you for that clarification. Seeing no questions, I would like to adopt this in support of the unanimous consent. Are there any objections? Seeing or hearing none, the motion to co-name 36th Street and 5th Avenue to Doctora Antonia Pantoja is so adopted.
I'll go real fast with the transportation committee updates. We had a presentation from the Taxi and Limousine about how it educates the public and its licensees and regulates for hire vehicles, taxis, delivery cabs, commuter vans, and more. There were a lot of great questions raised about Uber and Lyft surge pricing, accessible vehicles, and calculation of fares. The agency was good about promptly sending back answers, and we discussed those in our October 10th meeting and included those in our committee report. We also had a presentation from Sebastian Baez from Uprose and Kim Garcia from the New York Environmental Justice Alliance, describing trucking, safety, health, and environmental concerns related to last mile trucking at their avenue. And we received updates about legislation for Pennington to the gap part of the Assembly of Kansas. There was a lot of discussion about the zoning text amendment that relates to the last mile subcommittee, which we talked about last year, as well as other issues related to the last mile trucking and environmental issues. Full details on that are in our report. And staying with the theme of the environment, our 10-10 meeting was a joint meeting with Sanitation and Environment, where we talked about the Gowanus to Greenwood project, where Con Ed plans to add a new electric transmission line between substations. The goal of this project is to interconnect their systems to increase clean power transmission and reduce and eventually eliminate the need for peaker. There were a lot of questions raised about this project, specifically and their construction process. I mentioned that they can come back when contractors have chosen to discuss more specifics. Full details of that are in the minutes. And that one also had other presentations about the environment, the Fifth Avenue Committee, about a grant they did to map the air using vehicles, and another presentation from Uprose of the community air mapping project for environmental justice called Camp EJ, which is another effort to measure air quality around the BQE. While data from both is preliminary, there are definitely concerns about the impact of the highway and other emissions related issues in the area. I encourage you to read those reports. And just a few announcements regarding our next meeting is on November 2nd, another street renaming, and get an update about the findings from the recent Third Avenue study. DOT is going to be there. And then the DOT is hosting their BQE revisioning meetings to report on their next steps in our area on Monday, November 6th at ES 24, and virtually on Wednesday, November 8th. Those are 6 to 8:30 p.m. And you can learn more about those at bqevision.com/events. Finally, some time ago, we had a meeting about the reconstruction of the Fifth Avenue Bridge, 64th, 65th Street and Bay Ridge. Now that work is due to begin. CB7 is having a meeting about that. And while it's not our board meeting, we are invited to participate, and that's November 9th, 7th in their district office at 8119 Fifth Avenue and over 6.
Thank you, John, for that marathon. Any questions on the committee report?
Not underneath fourth, but I just have a question, last storm. Okay, sorry.
The last one we had really slammed Sunset Park for like a river. So will there be any conversation how, sanitation or transportation deals with alleviating that problem, cleaning out, gutter drains and all that?
Jeremy's gonna answer that.
So that's more pertinent to the environmental, committee. But it will be DEP. I've started working on that, with some of my colleagues in other districts that were also, hit hard. I know there's a council member that's having, doesn't cover this district, but does cover portions south of, Prospect Park, holding a, town hall meeting on flooding issues on November 14th, and try to get you that information once the flyer comes out. But there are a number of entities that are working on that already.
And clean catch basins and storm drains is number 2 on our expense budget priorities as a priority. Gary?
So,
Please use the microphone.
so for the folks that got affected in the flooding, the new control office giving out money because I already helped on 5 days after. So I'll go talk on the side.
Thank you. We have the information forwarded to the board so we can share out
The board has that info also, you have to apply within 90 days of the event.
the clarification. Thank you, John. Moving on, I'm gonna move things on a bit. I'm gonna go with the public safety committee because there is also a vote required. Cynthia Felix. Or we will ask for a vote.
Thank you, my vice chair, Jerry. You got my thanks. So we, a public safety meeting on October 12th, in the evening, we did not have a core meeting. However, we did have a discussion with one of the applicants. So I would like to provide some background and then I will go into the resolution. So the Office of Cannabis Management, OCM, has been issuing conditional adult use retail licenses. And we received the first 2 within 1 day last week. So we did invite both to come to our meeting. One is Pumping LLC, which is supposed to be located at 251 47th Street. And the other one was submitted by Hallie Happy Realty Corp. And they proposed to locate theirs at 6123 Fifth Avenue. Both applicants were invited and both confirmed. However, Cali Happy Realty Corp did not come to our meeting. So some context and background on the role of the community board in this process. So the Office of Cannabis Management, OCM, issued the conditional adult use retail license called CAURDF first. The provisional license then require the recipients to go back to OCM to get an okay on the desired location. And once an applicant submits a notification, the local community board has 30 days under the current law to express an opinion to the crime control board. Our opinions are advisory. I just want to be very clear, we're advisory only. So there is an article. I didn't prepare minutes because we didn't have a meeting, but I will prepare these notes and Jeremy will forward it to her. Anyone who's interested, it's been a fascinating process at other community work, and now it's coming to us. So we had a great informal conversation with Brooklyn LLC. They're actually here with us. And they did a very thorough presentation. They went over PowerPoint and we were able to ask questions. We also had Deputy Inspector Christian Suarez, the commanding officer of the 72nd with us. She was in attendance and she was able to provide some statistical data regarding the location and the immediate community area, 4-block radius, such as 311 calls and 911 calls. We did express some concerns and we also asked for some provision from Pumping Brooklyn LLC and they were very open. So some of the concerns we had and was also put up by the 7th. The location, for those of you who are familiar, is very desolate. Industrial. It is on 47th between 2nd, and it's mostly
retail, industrial area, there's no retail businesses there. It was the block of Lust. It is the same block. Lust was next door. Lust is now Azteca, which is a catering hall. And then on the other side of that is the a beer brewery that a lot of people frequent. We also have some concerns that neighbors may bring up. Living Air is 2 blocks away, and our neighbors on 45th Street brought up concerns to us about increased traffic due to urban air. So we had concerns about increased traffic of people coming to the dispensary. We also asked how would they monitor signers and how would they do quality control. So they reassured us that they use a cloud-based security camera system, very similar to TSA for IDs. And while we know kids are very creative and could get fake ID, they will do their very best to try to control that with security-based camera system. They're also going to have educational materials be posted inside and outside, try to control the loitering that may occur outside of the business. People smoking in the street, it is legal to smoke outside, but they will try to limit that loitering as much as possible. And they will not carry any illicit brands. They have to follow all the regulations that have set by the state. So unlike the unregulated smoke shops that have everywhere that may be laced with other things, these will be very controlled and all the products will come from New York State Farm. So that's something that we had agreed. Their hours will be 10 to 8 or 10 to 10, maybe on a Friday, and they will be open 7 days a week. We asked them to increase the frequency of the pickup. They will have a safe, a DEA safe, approved safe, as well as a security system. We asked them if they would do a buzzer. People would have to be buzzed in because Captain Suarez did, Deputy Inspector Suarez did share some incidents that have occurred with pushing commercial robberies where a pack of 5 or 6 kids come, push open the door, and then they do that. So the buzzer system will deter that. They also agreed to work with the 72nd Precinct to establish safety and a security plan, both for the consumers and the employees of the location. And also for picking the security agent. We wanted to have a security company that would be recognize the unique culture of the park, including the language game, as well as the cultural needs that we have in our community. And they had no problem with engaging with 72nd. They also agreed to provide the public safety with any updates that they may have, including a change of location, which they are willing to explore if there's a more suitable location. Right now, this is the location we're talking about, but they are OCM allows them to have another location. So it's kind of weird how it's done. They also are assuring us that all facilities will be fully accessible and comply with ADA standards. And like I said, they presented to us and they opened to agree that they will follow all state law. So because we did not have a quorum, I am bringing forth a resolution that due to that we recommend approval of the adult use retail dispensary license for Pumping LLC located at 251 47th Street, provided that the above stated conditions agreed upon by the applicant be put on the record upon which the office makes the recommendation to the board. And this was mostly due to them meeting and being very open with us as to what it is that they would do. So I believe I need a second.
Seconded by Pat Ruiz.
Could you read the resolution again?
Okay, so be it resolved that Community Board 7 in Brooklyn recommends approval of the new adult use retail dispensary license for Pumping LLC located at 251 47th Street, Brooklyn, New York, 11220, provided that the above stated conditions as agreed on by the applicant be part of the record in which our office makes the which the office of
be part of the record upon which the office makes a recommendation per the law of the proposed adult use cannabis. So we will make our recommendation to OCM, and then OCM will put it on the record.
Right. So it has been introduced and seconded. I would like to do this by a raised hand vote, if there are no objection.
I'm just gonna have to vote present.
Thank you. We'll make note of that.
Then approve this.
Other information or, is there gonna be a deliberate effort to hire people within?
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. Yes, they did make a commitment to have an economic impact in the community and hire local, as well as to support any local charities, events that are happening in the community. Yes, they have committed to that. They, in fact, the owners do have other properties in the community and also hire locally.
So let's, support the motion to approve with the suggested recommendations. Please raise your hand. Thank you for your hands down. If you, disapprove of the motion to place in facility, please raise your hand.
Please leave your hand up, John Johnston. When I call your name, you come down.
Thank you, colleagues.
Thank you.
And the mayor, second.
I also have two more resolutions.
Sorry, I don't know your names. You with the green shirt.
Me?
Yeah, did you raise?
Yeah,
your hand?
Okay.
Okay. The motion passes.
The motion passes. Thank you. I also have another resolution. As Happy BLC Corp did not appear before Community Board 7, we recommend this location not be approved as they did not engage the community with their plans and we have no idea what they're going. In addition, Deputy Inspector Suarez expressed extreme concern about that particular location due to the surrounding issues they have with use of narcotics around those surrounding blocks on Fifth Avenue going down to 4th. So we're putting forth a motion not to approve Happy BLC Corp.
You're putting forward.
Oh, I'm putting forth the motion. So I need a second.
The motion is introduced and seconded to disapprove, 6123 Fifth Avenue. And I would also like to do this by raising hand vote if there are no objections. Was that an objection, Jeremy?
Just point of clarity about.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, Sophia, if we disapprove of this, what is stopping them from opening up a legal shop, right? And I think that's the big thing that we need to understand is right now they've delayed so much of these legal ones that there's been so many illegal ones opening. So should we, it feels like we should actually be encouraging people to open up legal ones so that they can actually be regulated.
100% agree. There is a provision that they engage the community to know their plans, and the only reason we're disapproving this one is because they did not show up. They were, I want to clarify, they were invited. They confirmed verbally and in email that they would be here. We stood here, we were here. We didn't have a quorum, we stayed. We had several committee members. We were short of a quorum by 2 people. We had members of the community, we had people on Zoom. They had ample opportunity to. They didn't come and they didn't email the board to say they were not coming. So that is the only reason. I agree with you 100% that if they're legal, they come, they tell us. The only reason is because, and that's why the resolution would say, is because they did not engage the community as per OCM standards.
And just to add, this board is advisory. We can make conversations and can make determinations. But the Office of Cannabis Management, OCM, is free to make their own determination after our advisory. So the motion is to disapprove 6123 Fifth Avenue as a cannabis facility, cannabis dispensary. If I'm not sure, Victor. If you disapprove with the motion, please raise your hand. Oh, sorry, I said that wrong. I'm gonna start that over. If you support the resolution to disapprove the facility, please raise your hand. You put your hands up. If you I'm gonna make sure I say this right. If you voting no on disapproving the motion, please raise your hand.
Jeremy Kaplan, Nicholas Jackson. You put your hands down when I call your name. Anybody else?
And Victor's voting present.
And then the final resolution, I'm sorry. In the letter, can it be stated because they did not engage on the community?
That'll
That's
be
a
it.
separate assembly resolution. And then our final resolution, unfortunately, the Office of Cannabis Management only extends 30 days from the receipt of the notification. Applicant to express an opinion from the board. This makes it very challenging for us because we have to then have a public safety committee meeting, invite the applicants, and then see all within 30 days. And that makes it extremely challenging for us as a board, as it has made it for boards across the city. So we are joining and asking for I am motioning for a resolution that we ask the Office of Cannabis Management to extend the 30-day to a 90-day period in order to give us an ample opportunity to engage the community properly so we can make informed decisions forward. To expect more and more applicants to come to the board, and especially since the Office of Cannabis Management just opened up the application for everyone. So we want to make informed decisions and make sure that you, the community, are involved. So that's why we're asking OCM to extend it from 30 to 90 days to give ample time to review for applications.
There's a second to the motion. The second, so with Hector Gonzalez seconded the motion. So the motion on the floor is to support a resolution to OCM, Office of Cannabis Management, to increase their comment period from 30 days to 90 days. And I will try to do this also by raised hand votes. If you support the resolution to increase from 30 to 90 days, please raise your hand. You can put your hands down. If you do not support the resolution, please raise your hand.
Anything else?
I want to thank all of you and have a great day. And
And just for the record, Victor voted present.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
And our final committee, moving to the Finance Committee, and Christina will make a short presentation. Or short
Intro.
intro, yes, thank you.
I just want to give a framework for what's happening since we didn't have quorum and there's a deadline at the end of the month. So we're just trying to streamline this process as much as possible. So what's going to be happening is just an idea proposed. It's not a decision already made. And I just want that to be clear. Okay. Did you hear what I said? Yeah. No? Oh, okay. So there was no quorum for the Finance Committee. And since there's a deadline at the end of the month, what we're trying to do is just streamline this as possible. So what Jeremy is going to be talking about is just an idea proposed, not a decision that's already made. So I just want that to be clear. And you'll get to vote on everything. Also, I want to remind everyone what this budget is for the Finance Committee. It's a wish list. So it doesn't have a CB7 budget. But, you know, it is symbolic, but at the same time, it's still important. The administration knows what this community wants. I just want to give a framework for what's going to be happening so that there's no confusion.
So, because there was no quorum, what we are proposing is, we would like to extend the public comment period for 1 week after today for members of the public and the board to comment on their, budget priorities, and capital expense priorities, for Community District 7. And the, part of that motion would be for, the board to empower the district manager to update the priority list, while also removing those that have already been funded by, various agencies. So that does need to be, actually, I'm gonna make that motion, to, extend the public comment period for, 7 days, 1 week, for members of the public and the board to comment on the budget priorities and, to empower the district manager to update the priority list and remove any items that have already been funded. Is there a second to the motion? Seconded by Sam Sierra. Is there any discussion on motion?
Jeremy, after you, we put it all together, when you do your thing and you believe the ones that have been, and incorporate all the comments. When would we as board members would receive copies of the updated version, and then what would happen?
It will be submitted by October 31st.
And also shared with the full board. Jeremy? Kathy?
And people will be able to submit comments through, I've seen the document, but how do people add them?
They can do so by emailing the board. Which also, this all be put out in another email communication.
Can you remind people that, the public has another week, or has one period of time?
Yeah, so the members of the public will also be able to comment for 1 week, to incorporate their thoughts, and their priorities to the document.
So just to clarify, say, for example, I don't like item number 4, I would be eating item number 4, so I have to establish that 4 should be eaten or not. If someone recommends it from the board.
Yeah, so that may be a little bit harder, but I think the idea is to incorporate comments on things that we want to see added. So I'll also add, so we will likely not be deleting priorities from the document, only removing the ones that have been funded, and then adding additional priorities based on comments from the public.
Or reordering, if someone wants to reorder.
We'll likely also not be reordering. Katie?
Thank you. I have a question about the process associated with this. And this is something I reached out about ahead of time after quorum wasn't reached. How will people get access to understanding? Like, is this being emailed out, the full list that was handed out? Is it being provided to people? And then also, can you just clarify that process of deciding like what is being added and the language? Is that going to be Christina, or is that now being switched to Jeremy?
So the full priority list will be sent out via email along with requests for public comment. And then the motion is to empower the district manager to update the document based on comments from the public. So we will likely not be removing items based on public comment, but we will be adding.
But you say email, but who, I mean, I don't know who's on our email list. Are we posting it somewhere publicly on a website, on a web page?
There would be our social media as well as email. Our full email list has 2,000.
I just think there's an issue with, I understand that we didn't reach quorum, which is problematic. And I know that is an issue being addressed, but I have concerns about the accessibility and transparency around this with not, just like putting it on, let's say, Twitter and then sending it out to an email list. I don't know who's on the email list. So I just have concerns around access and transparency around it. Those are my concerns that I wanted to raise.
Yeah, I hear you, Katie. This is definitely not ideal. But it is, if we do not submit our priority list we essentially miss out for the next fiscal year. And at least this, well, definitely not ideal, does, capture the priorities that we have stated in the past, as well as trying to incorporate, new priorities.
Right, I was getting another question, but some of the priorities would automatically just go to the bottom of this.
So we can, that's a good question, likely, yes.
So the other option is to have an emergency meeting.
Yeah, so the other option, thank you, Christina, the other option would be to hold a special meeting of this board, before the end of the month for the public hearing component, and then incorporating that document, after the special meeting of the board, which, we can do, but it would definitely be challenging to ensure that we have a quorum for that special meeting. So there is, John, you can do the last one.
Can you do this meeting online or you still?
No, because of, open meetings, all we need to be an in-person meeting.
Because I looked up the open meetings law, and they have a thing about the extraordinary circumstances, and that would allow people to do it online. Would that qualify? Would this qualify?
So, circumstances for, member attendance, people can join a meeting, virtually, so we could have board members here virtually, but a quorum must be established by those in person, which we have complained about. So the motion is to, extend public comment for 1 week, allow members of the public and the board to comment on the capital expense priorities, and then to empower the district manager to update the document and remove, items that have been funded, while also incorporating new priorities mentioned by those from the public and this board. Yes, Karen?
So does that mean having an emergency meeting as well?
No, it will not, yeah. So if you support the motion to, extend public comment and empower the manager to incorporate public comment, please raise your hand. Okay, hands up. Any opposed?
Sophia Gonzalez,
Thank you.
wait, hang on.
Oh, pardon me.
Please, your hand up. His hand is up.
Thank you. So the motion passes. Thank you. Thanks for the snap. We will now move on to the second roll call of the evening. And this is for members who, were not present for the first roll.
Thank you. If you do not hear your name, it's because you've already told us you're here. So let's start with Ramon Acevedo, Amel Afzal, Garnett Contras, Christina Das, Rubino Morales Escamilla, Kim Fung, Diana Gonzalez, Kenny Kwan, Wai Ko, thank you, Angie Lau, Antoinette Martinez, Joanna Romero, Cindy Vanderbosch, I'm sorry, I skipped Ryan Smith, and Cesar Zuniga. Roll has been called.
Thank you. Now we'll go to the elected officials report, and I'm gonna ask them to be as brief as possible. Seconds, starting with, Zunero Ned from Senator Chu's office. And then after that, Edward Seno.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Zara Abek. I'm the district director of Senator Chu. Just want to say what an exciting meeting we're having today. Love the topic. I just wanted to mention that Senator Chu will be having a Halloween pumpkin and tree giveaway at her office, 66054 Way. It will be on Halloween Day, 31st, from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. We ask that you bring someone that is 18 years or younger. You don't get to dress up, but we would love to see you in the Halloween spirit. I also brought a few copies of the voter registration forms, a few copies of the diocese constitution. I always say, might as well have one in your car, I never swing copies. I have our office information. I have a English copy, a copy in Spanish, and in Chinese. They're located in the back. If you'd like to have them. You can always visit our office at 6605 Fort Falls Parkway. Give us a call, email. I'll also be here at the end of this meeting. So if you'd like, let me know. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Zamira. Edward Plano from Councilmember Avila's office, and then after that, Myra Molina.
Hello, everyone. Edward Serna, Chief of Staff for Councilmember Alexa Aviles. I'm going to start with, thank you, with a legislative update on Intros 0647. It is a law that the council member introduced that would require the sheriff and city marshals to contact DSS and HRA when they receive essentially an eviction notice. As we know, in District 38, housing is the #1 issue, so that's the priority of the council member is to support and strengthen tenant rights and tenant laws. And so once DSS gets notified of that eviction order, they would then be required to screen people for the eligibility for legal counsel. Because as we know, when a tenant has representation in housing courts, the likelihood of them being evicted goes dramatically down. So we had a hearing on that. We received feedback, and now we'll continue on in the legislative process, and we hope to see that bill eventually become law. I don't have too many details on this, but also we expect our truck route bill to pass in November. So fingers crossed. The city DOT has not updated their truck routes in a very long time, so this bill would require them to do that. As we know, in District 38, there's been an explosion of last mile facilities both in Bethel and there's one at the park. So definitely a lot of trucks on the road. Need DOT to update those trucks because on Van Brand and everybody knows Bethel. You have truck routes, Amazon buses, MTA buses, local traffic, business traffic. It's just chaotic. So we will get DOT to update those routes. On the events front, as you know, it's been raining every single weekend. So unfortunately, our pre-public giveaway was postponed. So I have flyers outside for this. It's now scheduled for Saturday, October 28th from 11 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Same location, PS24, just a few blocks down. So you have a child or anyone is a biker and wants to go get a free helmet fitting, they can stop outside during that day. As is customary, we also have our office hours on the family to serve our Chinese constituents, Chinese speaking constituents. At Nicole on the PCR offices. Thank you, Nicole, for being such a gracious host. The next one is going to be on November 18th, it's Friday, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Anyone from that community or of that news can come on by and receive services from this. Lastly, we have been funding the New York Legal Assistance Group to provide legal services to our community free of charge. They cover housing, immigration, healthcare benefits, advanced planning for 15 years of estate planning. So their van sets up in front of our office. That's going to be coming up on November 14th, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. So we have flyers of that nightlight van outside on the table as well. Absolutely, last thing, Damien, I didn't get back to you on that question you asked last meeting about the PEG and the custom CUNY. So when the mayor makes an order for a 5%, and so backing up a little bit, the mayor made that order of 5% cuts for all city agencies. So the city agencies then have to create a plan to meet that cut. And then they get back. So I don't have that dollar figure amount because during that planning phase, I'm probably going to get to that 5%. So once we get those all figures out. Okay. I'll be here for the rest of the meeting as well. Thank you, everyone. Great.
Thank you, Governor. And then after that, to joining us for Julia Portes and Jessica Powell.
Hi everyone, good evening everyone. I hope you're all staying healthy in the weather. My name is Myra Molina. I'm here on behalf of Councilmember Dan Golden. I just want to run by a few legislative updates. Dan's been working with, he's been working to connect stranded Americans in Israel to come back to the country, and he's been working with the State Department. So if you have anyone that you may know, they want to refer to our office, we're here to help. He's also been fighting to remove barriers to organization for our incoming migrants. He's been fighting to establish a right to legal counsel and immigration proceedings. So we've had several bills done in DC that have, that we, amid this controversial, situation in DC with the speaker and all. He has also submitted a letter of support for reconnecting communities, for reconnecting to support communities. It would establish an engagement plan to create design and concepts for the northern and southern part of DC, which also includes like Sunset Park. And I believe we've been in touch with Karen as well regarding that. And I'm glad he worked with Congressman Velasquez to keep members of Congress and the comprehensive fraud protection for people. So our office is located in 240A Main Street. If you have any questions, you can always go to South. We're always outside of the office.
Thank you. Thank you, Myron. Just one question about, Lydia Velasquez introduced a resolution about a ceasefire. I noticed that Dan hasn't signed onto it on Israel-Palestine. Do you know why he's hesitant to sign onto it, especially because, Nydia has been very outspoken about it and supporting and has brought on, I think, at least 55 Democrats so far. So it's interesting that Dan is absent from that.
I understand. I can get back to you on that. I know that he's been trying to get aid to, as well. So I'll be getting back to you on that with a big answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mia Perez from Councilmember Shahana's office.
And you can unmute now.
Hi, everyone. Mia Perez from Councilmember Hanif's office. Just a quick update that the participatory budgeting process has kicked off. It's a democratic process in which community members get to decide how to spend public dollars, and our office is going to be allocating $1.5 million to this project, and folks can submit ideas for participatory budgeting through a website, ideas.pbnyc.org. I can put that in the chat and share it with the community board to get out. And we're going to be collecting ideas until November 9th. I will keep it at that, but we'll also put my info in the chat for folks who may have questions.
Thank you. Jessica, I'm from President Reynoso's office.
Yes, can you unmute yourself?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Jessica. I'm from Borough President Antonio Reynoso's office. I just want to really quickly remind everybody that our comprehensive plan is out. We've done extensive research and collected a lot of data over the last 2 years, and we're really proud of the document and that's coming out. It's supposed to influence our land use decisions moving forward and help everybody in the borough see what's going on in their neighborhood. So please, when you get a chance, check it out. You can see it on our website. Also, we have a trick-or-treat event on Halloween. So at Borough Hall from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. So please come out if you do get a chance. Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. And lastly, Francesca Lando from Senator Giannatis' office.
Francesca, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much for calling on me. I just wanted to say, on behalf of Senator Gurnardis's office, I just wanted to share we have office hours on Mondays and Thursdays from 9 to 5 in Councilman Justin Brandon's office, so 8009 Fifth Ave. Also on the first Wednesday of every month at the Brooklyn Heights Library, which is 286 Cadman Plaza West. And it would be great to see if everybody at the Bay Ridge, the Fifth Ave bid trunk or treat that goes from the Parkway to 85th Street. But happy Halloween to everybody regardless. And thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Francesca. I don't think I missed anyone. Okay. Moving on to the district manager's report.
Everyone? Thank you, Barbara. Yeah. So some of these items have been mentioned already, so I'm not going to double up, but I will say that John mentioned the BQE workshop. We have workshops. We have flyers in 4 different languages out on tables for anybody who'd like to share them with their neighbors. I am proud to say that for the 52nd straight year, I will not be running the New York City Marathon, which will be held on Sunday, November 5th. For those of you who know it, 4th Avenue will be closed, side streets. There are flyers out on the table if anybody wants to check the room to see what the closures are. Until November 15th, the customers who register with AutoPay can get $100 off on their next water bill. That has been emailed to everybody on our list and on social media. If anybody is interested in this and does not have the contact to be able to do that, I'd be more than happy to share that link with you. Rainbow Playground has been completed and open. And Sunset Park Rec Center has been closed for its upgrade. So one park open, Rec Center closed. The brown bins that everybody now needs to get their food waste. There is a giveaway at Sunset Park at 7th Avenue and 41st Street entrance. That will be held on Tuesday, November 14th. This information is emailed and put on social media. I need to stress you need to register in order to get a brown bin. If you do not have the link, I'd be more than happy to share that with you. Earlier this week, I attended the Sunset Park Task Force. The 2 items that I found most interesting were that the Brooklyn Army Terminal is going to be used as a green economy business pilot hub. We're going to put this their presentation out to everybody so you can look at what green economy type businesses they are planning for the Army Terminal. And they are also their first public open house for Pier 6 at the Pier 6 of the South Brooklyn Marine Terminal. That open house will be held in January, and that's the same month that the Made in New York North Campus should be substantially complete. So you should be able in January to, I don't know how to attend this meeting yet, but share your comments on Pier 6 at SBMT, the future. John mentioned that Community Board 10 is holding a meeting on November 9th at 7 p.m. regarding the 5th Avenue reconstruction. We have flyers outside for anybody who wants to share that with your neighbors. There are 9 liquor license applications due in renewals that have come since the last board meeting. They are available in the red binder in the office for anybody who wishes to look at them. And for the first time, I can tell you, we've ever seen 3 cannabis license applications since the last meeting. They are available in the white binder in the office. And then finally, CompStat is out on the table for anything more current stats in the past week, month, and year.
Thank you, Jeremy. Any questions on the PM's report? Seeing none. Moving on to old business. Go ahead, Pat.
This is old business from last month's meeting. I wanted to thank Jeremy and Victor Swinton for taking care of the handrail that's supposed to be for handicap accessibility. Thank you for cleaning the
Thank you. Any new business? Seeing none, moving on to the last public comment, portion of the board. This is for members of the public to comment on anything they so wish. Cynthia?
Yeah, I just wanted to, bring up, that the new changes in the way the board functions now. Ever since we came back to in person, my observation has been that, when we were on Zoom, we had a lot, from the board. I mean, we have 50-something board members, and today I think that we just squeaked in a quorum. And, that's one thing. That the other part is that, committees, like, I'm not sure how committees are gonna be running from now. What is gonna be the structure of the committees? How do we make quorum? Because, it used to be that if you were, you had a committee and board members attended that committee, that they had a right to vote on that committee. And I'm sure that that's probably going away also, that you have to be a committee member to be able to vote. But, it's not your opinion, and then as it is to be able to vote on stuff. So, I'm concerned about how we're going to be operating, because I see attendance dwindling. We didn't make quorum on a couple of committees, or because the committees have to be in person or nothing gets done. We're beginning to look like the US government. Nothing is getting done because we don't have the votes. We don't have the people. I mean, I ran over here, when, they had, the meeting, the finance committee meeting. I ran over here because I was told that they weren't gonna make quorum. And then when I got here, the doors were already closed. And I don't keep happening over and over because people get discouraged. I mean, we're not paid employees. We are volunteers who take out of precious time, to come and do something for our community. And I'm fearful that that's gonna go by way of horse and buggy.
Thank you. And I'll just add, some of your questions will be addressed in the executive committee meeting in November. So thank you for raising those. Any other public comment? Seeing or hearing none, I will be adjourning the October meeting. Have a good night, everybody.